Here, I'm now going to WhatsApp and open this. Okay, now I got it. I don't know how to share screen now. I'm in WhatsApp. I have it open in WhatsApp. And I have no idea how to share a screen.
Yeah, you have to go to Zoom, and then in the middle of the screen, there is a green. Yeah, there is a green button that says share screen.
Got it.
And you can share all of your screen or just one screen, like for example, like Word or whatever.
Is that it now? No.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I know, but you only see me. You don't. Oh, you're seeing the screen here?
I'm seeing your screen.
Enablers and difficulties. Is that the one you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing.
Okay, fine, perfect. Okay. So you want to read this? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But especially I want to work on the pronunciation. So is that okay if you read it, or do you want me to?
All right. No. Go ahead. Read the title. You read the title.
Enablers and difficulties in the implementation of gamification, a case study with teachers.
All right. You've got a couple of things in here, and it's every Ecuadorian, every Spanish speaker does it, right? The E is more of a sound in English.
Enablers.
But no, enablers and difficulties, not difficulties.
Difficulties.
Difficulties, more. Look, listen, every Spanish speaker, they immediately, they're a native Spanish speaker. Always, all E, right? Because it's common to you guys, right? But enablers and difficulties.
Difficulties.
Yeah, that's it. Now, you want to try the sentence again?
Enablers and difficulties in the implementation of gamification, a case study of with teachers.
Okay, now the word after in, pronounce the word after in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth word, pronounce the fifth word.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The implementation.
Yeah, I'm hearing more E sound more again, right? So enablers and difficulties, and I'm sort of hearing the E sound in the implementation.
In the implementation, yeah.
Now try it one more time. They were the only two things, and that's common. Every Spanish speaker does the same thing.
Yeah, enablers and difficulties in the implementation of gamification, a case study with teachers.
Exactly. Now, your little emphasis, teachers are more of a. I'm hearing more of a hit on teachers.
Yeah, teachers.
Not as strong on the opening syllable. Teachers.
Teachers.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a little. You see, I hear a little strong on the initial pronoun. I mean, it's fine. You'll understand you, right? But you'll hear the Spanish inflection coming in, right?
Yep. Yeah, okay. Understood. Yeah, let's continue.
Next line, starting lab TE.
No, that's not important. Let's continue with the abstract.
With the which? Open access, open the article, is that
No. The abstract.
The abstract. Okay, fine. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Can you read and I will be listening?
Okay. Abstract. Let me see if I can increase this. Control plus, is it? And sometimes on these Control plus, maybe? No? Okay. All right.
And also it's better if you download the PDF.
Is there download PDF? Let's see.
Yeah.
It sometimes takes a little while. I'm getting no reaction here. Okay, I see something down at the bottom here. I'm not seeing the screen on it, and I think it's a resolution issue on this machine. Show all and education. Okay, got it. Here we go. Okay, fine. Now Control plus. I think I can increase that now. Plus. Okay, perfect. Okay, first sentence or first paragraph. Abstract. Although there is ample evidence that gamification can engage students in learning, it is less used than one would expect. This raises the question of the difficulties teachers face in planning and implementing gamification in their classes. What enables teachers' implementations of gamification? These questions were addressed through a case study, and data were collected along the 4 phases of a teacher's training course. The first phase approached the gamification concept, the Octalysis framework, the types of gamification and digital tools. The second phase focused on planning the gamification activity. The third one on implementing it with their students in school. And the fourth phase on sharing and reflecting on their experience. It was possible to identify enablers and difficulties that influence the planning, such as personal background, time available, and technical conditions in the classroom. Most teachers opted for a platform with digital tools that allowed them to apply all the desired features to their gamified activities. The most complex gamified activities were related to the teacher's gaming experience, use of digital tools, and risk-taking. All right, you want to try it again now?
No, that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. No, let's continue.
All right, now here, interesting. Now, if you look at, I want to bring your attention, 1, 2, 3, the 4th line down that starts, these questions were addressed through a case study, and data were collected. Now, that is good English. You will usually see people use data singular, and data was collected. But here is reference to more than one data point, but data is both singular and plural in English.
Yes, I understand that perfectly.
That's why you're using the where there. That, you know, it shows us command of English. Most people have put down data was collected.
Yeah.
To me, I'd feel bad. I would probably put data points were collected just to make sure. Do you see what I mean? Rather than data were collected, I'd probably data points were collected. That's fine. It was just an observation. That's all. Now, introduction. Gamification has proved to be a valuable strategy for teaching with a positive impact on learning, but it has also revealed itself as a complex research theme. Previous research identified 586 possible relationships among a wide set of variables. Over the years, research has addressed aspects such as the reasons and the elements that make games so motivating and how they can be implemented in different contexts, including education. Games became an interesting new area of study for education, discovering new ways to motivate students, since the elements of challenge, control, and update in games have the potential to sustain students' motivation when playing games. Games provide different feelings, such as pleasure and immersions, often becoming addictive, as they are based on theories of human behavior and motivation. Based on the emotions and engagement created by games, a new concept arises. Gamification, defined by CAP for the education context as a methodology of using game-based mechanics, aesthetics, and game thinking to engage people, motivate action, promote learning, and solve problems. Nowadays, gamification continues to be a wide field of research and education, particularly in computer science teaching. Amari pointed out that most of the studies in gamification give evidence for improving engagement and motivation. In these studies, some concerns associated with competition among students, difficulties with the design, and problems in updating the activity log were identified. It should be noted that the studies mentioned above mainly focus on the impact of game mechanisms on achievement and progression. Many of them involve experiences with software developed for specific contexts, which makes the generalization of research results difficult. There are several issues related to gamification that need further research and are also difficult to understand because teachers can heavily influence the process of gamification. Studying the enablers and difficulties that teachers may have during the planning and implementation of gamified activities is the focus of our study. Types of gamification. CAP distinguishes two types of gamification that can be applied: structural and content. Structural gamification corresponds to the application of game mechanisms to existing content without changing it. Content gamification corresponds to the reformulation of information, dynamics, and content itself through game design elements. It is intended to make the content more game-like, giving context to it or developing activities such as games. This is a more elaborate type of gamification that requires better preparation and investment. Octalysis framework of gamification. Dondello et al. Have compared the most cited frameworks of gamification. They identified the 12 most motivational dimensions. The Octalysis framework includes 10 of them across the 8 core drives, making it the most comprehensive. It also emphasizes emotions, making it simpler to assimilate by those who have little experience with games. The Octalysis framework was developed by Chu based on his experience as a player. For him, human motivation can be triggered by at least one of the 8 core drives described below. CD1 or core drive 1, epic meaning and calling. Something that drives people to act because they believe that they dedicate their time to a greater goal. CD2, development and accomplishment. The desire to reach the next level, the development of skills, the need to overcome challenges that motivate action. CD3, empowerment of creativity and feedback. The creative process through which players discover new things and try new combinations. Example, Lego and art. CD4, ownership and possession. The need to own or control something. Example, collecting items. CD5, social influence and relatedness. All the social factors that impel the human being in the accomplishment of something, mentoring, social acceptance, feedback, companionship, competition, or even envy. CD6, scarcity and impatience. Wanting something just because it is extremely rare, exclusive, or immediately unavailable. CD7, unpredictability and curiosity. What drives the action stems from the fact of not knowing what will happen after. CD8, loss and avoidance. The need to avoid something negative, such as losing the game or losing objects collected by not performing tasks in a certain time. There are rules and game mechanics that promote the emotions that characterize each core drive, making it possible to plan activities that can engage students through the type of motivation that easily grabs their attention. It is important to note that the Octalysis framework organizes the core drives in 2 ways. Left brain and right brain. The core drives on the left, CD1, 2, 4, 6, 8, are associated with concrete actions and objects. All extrinsic motivation, such as rewards, goals, and the possibility of collecting anything. The right side, core drives, CD1, 3, 5, 7, and 8, are characterized by emotionality, creativity, sociality, and curiosity, a more intrinsic motivation. Positive and negative emotions. The core drives in the top half, CD1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are the positive ones, emotions that give us joy and that we can control. The bottom half, CD, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, are the negative ones, such as addiction, impatience, urgency, the ones that we cannot control. Our research aims to identify enablers and difficulties that teachers may have during the planning and implementation of gamified activities, highlighting the decisions they need to make throughout this process and the problems they need to overcome. 2, methods, materials and methods. 2.1, training course. A training course for teachers named Strategies and Digital Tools to Motivate Students to Learn Through Gamification was outlined with 4 phases and it ran for 5 months. A workshop modality was chosen to provide teachers with moments of learning, planning, and application to the classes. It required availability beyond the training course hours, which was not always easy to conciliate. The training course had a total of 40 hours, from which 20 hours were of autonomous work. The training combined face-to-face classes and online sessions. Over the 4 phases of the training course, teachers were invited to be reflective about their difficulties, options, and students' reactions to gamification. During the first phase, trainees acquired gamification concepts. In the Octalysis framework, the types of gamification, namely structure and content gamification, were approached, and they explored platforms and digital tools. Gamification was applied during training to engage participants, allowing them to experience it and see how it works. During the second phase, trainees planned a gamification activity. They were asked, as CAP had suggested, to identify a problem to be solved. Then they had to define the tools to be used during gamification and outline the activity. In phase 3, trainees applied the gamified activity with their students in school and reported the ongoing process. In phase 4, the trainees were invited to share students' reactions and their experiences, with possible improvements discussed and the main needs highlighted. To conclude the course, they had to submit a final report. 2.2 case study. According to Elsa Wire, it is essential to understand gamification holistically through studies carried out that use mixed methods. The author concluded that most of the studies involving gamification use quantitative methodologies, focusing on statistical analysis and on the quantitative data resulting from the application, namely metrics and the reward system. He also indicated that the use of qualitative methodologies is something rare, as well as the use of mixed methods, but necessary to understand gamification. The main advantage of a case study methodology is the possibility to describe a phenomenon that is still not well known. Other advantages are related to the fact that it is appropriate for small-scale research, limited in time, and the fact that it is an open method, which can be very useful for future interventions and aid decision-making, considering the phenomenon studied. This type of methodology is suitable when analyzing new situations and finding out the how and the why of certain events. The aim of this case study is to understand the enablers and difficulties of teachers when they create gamified activities and afterwards implement them with their students. During the training course, data were collected through a questionnaire, participant observation, video recording, and reports produced by trainees. Table 1. During the first session, a questionnaire of characterization and an informed consent form were filled out by the participants. In the following sessions, data were collected through video recording, namely the planning of gamified activities sessions and the final session, where the trainees reported on their experience and their students' reactions. All the documents produced, planning, reports of implemented activities, and final report were also collected for content analysis. 2.2 participants. 5 participants finished the training course. All of them were teachers of the Portuguese third cycle of basic education, students aged 12 to 15 years old. 2 were female and 3 were male. Their ages range from 37 to 55 years with different levels of experience. The oldest participant had 32 years of service, P1, and the youngest had 9 years of service, P5. Regarding gaming experience, 3 participants reported that they played games of strategy, P3, discovery, P3, puzzle, P2, and simulation, P4. The participants taught different subjects, biology and geology, history, physical education, and special education. The group were regarded as heterogeneous, taking in consideration all the above mentioned characteristics. Results 3.1, plan and implementation of gamification. All participants applied their planned activities for their students. Table 3, P1, a geology and biology teacher decided to address the indiscipline amongst students. He used the EducaPlay platform, creating a group for his class. Students had to complete different challenges about the content learned in the classroom. P2, a special education teacher, used the same platform, EducaPlay, to promote reading, where students had to solve games on EducaPlay about the stories they read. P3, a history teacher, created a more complex gamification activity using different digital tools and analogic games. The students were invited to conduct role-playing games and find the motives that guided the Marquis of Pombal to make the decision to govern Portugal during the 18th century. P4, physical education teacher, challenged his students to answer the question presented in the Edmodo platform about curiosities in sports. P5, also a history teacher, needed to raise awareness of World War II, WWII events. She mentioned that many students think that World War II is like a movie, that it is not real. She created a quest sequence using Blue Rabbit, Educa Play, and YouTube. Students had the role of a journalist that reported on events in World War II. Table 3 shows that all participants had different gamification goals. Most of the participants opted for content gamification as they changed the usual way of teaching, using different tools or platforms to create game-like activities. Only one participant, P4, applied structural gamification, the simpler type of gamification. He sent a sports question to his students every week on an established day and hour. 3.2, platforms and tools used. Participants chose platforms and digital tools from a list previously presented to them, such as Educa Play, Edmodo, Blue Rabbit, ClassCraft, Habitica, Kahoot, Keys, Clickers, Edpuzzle, PlayPosit, Nearpod, Activity Learn, ClassFlow, Pear Deck, ThingLink, among others. They had to choose platforms that could respond in their gamification goals. 3.2.1, Educa Play. Educa Play is a platform that allows the preparation of activities based on different games such as crosswords, memory, matching, fill the blanks, unscramble letters or words. The teacher assigns students to a group and they solve the activities. For each activity completed, students receive points that were shown on the leaderboard of the activity or on the group, CD2. Feedback was frequent throughout sounds, graphic effects, and points, CD3. Students could improve their points on the leaderboard, CD4. Usually they wanted to be better than their classmates, CD5. Teachers could set rules in their own activities, such as limiting the time, number of attempts, and providing some tips, CD6. As in all games, students were afraid of losing, which motivated them to reach the highest number of points, CD8. The existence of a countdown on all activities and sound effects that alert to errors contributed to focusing the students, CD8. The platform was used by P1, P2, and P5. They used this platform in different ways according to the gamified activity. P1 used all features Educa Play. He created a group for his class and invited students to sign up. Then he provided collections of activities as they progressed. Students had to pay attention during their classes to be able to successfully complete the activities in the weekly assignment. However, only a few students completed the tasks weekly. Due to this situation, P1 decided to solve the activities in class. When students saw their marks refreshed on the leaderboard, the enthusiasm was outstanding. They were engaged and completed all the tasks. P2 required different conditions because her students had special education needs. One of the limitations of the Educa Play free account was the publicity on the platform that could distract her students. To supplant this, the activities created were embedded in a blog, and afterwards in the class, students were invited one by one to complete each activity. Students did not have to register on Educa Play as they completed the activities as a guest. To create competition, CD5, between the students, P2 registered the points achieved in an Excel sheet and formed them at the end of the class. P5 used Educa Play to create challenges that she embedded on Blue Rabbit. 3.2.2, Edmodo. Edmodo is a social platform developed for education where it is possible to create groups of students and deliver tasks, CD3, that can be evaluated by teachers. This allows social interaction by posting information, commenting on peers' posts, or adding reactions, CD5. It's possible to classify the tasks completed and award badges for the achievements, CD4. P4 used Edmodo as a forum space where students could comment on the posts delivered to the teacher, CD5. Each post was made available on a specific day of the week. Each post required a correct answer about curiosity in sports, CD6. The first student to answer correctly would win that challenge, CD5. P3 used Edmodo to disclose all information about the activities presented to the students. 3.2.3, Blue Rabbit. Blue Rabbit is a gamified platform created to be used in education. Figure 2. It is possible to create a class where students can become characters in the mission, CD1. The system of points and progress is already defined, CD2. It is possible to create a storytelling where students complete different quests, missions, or side quests to achieve the aims of the narrative, CD3. It's possible to give students badges and rewards that can exchange afterwards for some help, CD4. It is possible to group students in project quests where they can collaborate, CD5. The quest, missions, and side quests can be blocked to only be accessed after some conditions are satisfied, such as achieving a specific level, having coins to pay the entry, or completing a task to increase points, CD6. By blocking access to new quests, Blue Rabbit enhances the curiosity to find what the next step is or what happens in the story, CD7. Finally, no student likes to lose, so they try to complete every task, CD8. In Blue Rabbit, it's also possible to give negative tickets that make students lose points if something is wrong is detected, CD8, such as cheating or failure to comply with any other rule defined in the classroom. P5 used most of the features of Blue Rabbit. Each student assumed the role of a journalist that had reported facts in World War II. The mission was to inform all people about what was happening in Europe. P5 used videos available on YouTube from these times, newspaper news, and biographies. Some quests and activities built in EducaPlay. 3.2.4, tools used. P3 used several tools besides the Edmodo platform. 5 tasks were assigned to students. The narratives were available at Edmodo with the aim of the mission, the role of the students, CD1, and the task, CD6. For the first task, a treasure hunt was created using the app Hunts, CD1, CD2, CD3, and CD7. Each activity was performed, and the coins received were registered in Flippity Progress Indicator, CD2. Those coins were needed to buy the building for the architecture reconstruction project of Lisbon, CD4. For achieving this, they used the drawing tool available on the interactive board. 3.3, core drives applied. Through the Arctalis tool, it is possible to represent the core drives achieved in the activity and the intensity of it in a graph. The intensity is represented by the extension of the core drive vertex. P1 and P2 both use EducaPlay, but the graphic representation is different, figures 3A and 3B. As explained above, P1 used all the features of EducaPlay, and P2 enabled the game, embedded the game created by EducaPlay in a blog. This choice eliminated most of the publicity of EducaPlay and did not offer any functionality that allowed students to achieve CD4, ownership and possession, and CD5, social influence and relatedness. It was intended to reduce the possible students' distractions as they were special education. Even with different functionalities available at EducaPlay, P1 and P2 achieved their aims. On the other hand, P3 and P5 were history teachers, and they decided to use different tools and different approaches. However, they both light up all the core drives in the respective graphs, figures 4A and B. It is the figure of P3 that has more intensity on all core drives due to the more complex activities and the mystery introduced through the storytelling. On the other hand, P5 used Blue Rabbit and EducaPlay and still applied all core drives. The use of storytelling gave context, and the activities sequence allowed the achievement of CD1, epic meaning calling, enabled the curiosity to achieve CD7, unpredictability and curiosity. For P5, the storytelling or narrative was a suggestion of Blue Rabbit, where it is possible to define the role to give students. P5 had some difficulty completing the narrative because, in the beginning, the quests were very similar to school assignments. This had to be worked on during training. Being a participant with no game experience, preparing more game-like activities was a challenge for her. P4 only applied 2 of the core drives, figure 5, as he only delivered a weekly challenge without a reward system. It was not a complex activity, but achieved the aim he defined. The students who completed the challenges showed more interest in the diversity of sports. One difficulty was identified. Not all students participate in the activity because they had to do it in their free time. Looking at all the italicized representations of the activities, most of the participants applied left brain core drive, CD6, scarcity and impatience is present in all the activities with medium intensity, and the positive emotion, CD2, development and accomplishment is presented in 4 of the representations with great intensity. 3.4, implementing gamification in the classroom. Several technical problems were reported during the implementation of the gamified activities in school, particularly the lack of equipment or the poor internet quality. This was a source of frustration for students not being able to log into the tool or losing access during the activity. Participants were surprised with students' difficulties logging in and their lack of knowledge on how to use the platforms. As they reported, they were not expecting to have to support students with technical explanations and have to spend a lot of time with it. As the participants commented, they were expecting that students 12 to 15 years old would easily understand how to use the platforms. Some of the activities were planned to be done at home, P1, P4, and P5, after classes, due to the lack of computers in the classroom. However, disappointingly, only 2 of the 3 students completed the homework. For this reason, both P1 and P5 had to implement the activities in the computer lab. The competition in the classroom gives students the motivation to complete the tasks. P5 wrote in her report, I reported the score of each student. Some were quite satisfied, others not so much. I noticed an effort by students who got 0. They quickly tried to carry out the activity and moved to a more prominent place. An environment of some competition was created, which was quite interesting. 4, discussion. The group of participants planned diversified activities oriented to the teaching context with different levels of complexity according to their needs and aims. The results were very positive. P1 mentioned, I was positively supplied by the receptivity of my students, particularly the most disturbing ones who, during the activity, used a much more moderate language and attitudes than usual. Even P3, who usually used these kind of activities, was surprised with students' engagement. It was an activity, treasure hunt, where the students were very committed and not even the rain stopped them from solving all the challenges. Similar findings are mentioned by Hamari et al., making evident the improvement in motivation and engagement. The technical conditions available, such as equipment and internet access, are one of the most conditioning aspects in planning and in implementing gamified activities. As stated by Elenesi, time, access to resources, and technical support are some of the obstacles identified when technology is to be implemented in the classroom. To minimize the effort required in the preparation, they chose tools that had more features that satisfied their gamified activity. Most of the participants used one platform and its games or tools with their students because they only spent time mastering one. Similar findings are mentioned in different studies where teachers sought to maximize the time available during planning and implementation in the classroom. Looking at all activities, it is possible to identify competition in all of them. What did stand out from all experiences is that when students realized in real time their ranking on the leaderboard, they tried to improve their marks, as reported by P1 and P5. It showed that competition in real time has more effect on students. Students analyzed by Kalogiannakis et al., page 19, show that competitiveness in a gamified setting positively affects students' behavior. The core drives applied by participants depended, firstly, on the features available on the chosen platform, and secondly, on the features teachers choose to offer to students. For instance, P1 and P2 choose the same platform, but they did not apply the same core drives. P1 applied all core drives possible to achieve Educa Play and implemented a mechanism not available on the platform. For instance, he applied a rule stating that only the students with more points could go to a golden group collection where activities were more complex. Inversely, P2 used only a few features of Educa Play due to the difficulties of our special education students. The versatility of the platform is an important request to create different activities. The core drives applied with more intensity from the left side of the catalysis framework, which is related to extrinsic motivation, such as rewards and progress. They are the ones that are easier to implement, available on most platforms, and easier to understand how they work. As stated by Majuri et al., results indicate that gamification, education, and learning most commonly utilizes affordances signaling achievement and progression, while social and immersion-oriented affordances are much less common. Gaming experience also had an effect on gamification planning. P3 was the one with more experience in playing games and using digital tools in classes. Based on this experience, he created a complex gamified activity. During the training sessions, he helped other participants to understand some concepts of game design or approach. For him, it was easy to understand how to achieve all core drives. He had more time for planning because he was teaching part-time. Concluding, P3 combined important conditions and characteristics such as time, game experience, previous use of technology, and some creativity. Throughout the study, we identified enablers and difficulties in planning and implementing gamification, which are synthesized in Table 4. There are enablers and difficulties related to technical issues, teachers and students. Students were not directly included in their study. However, the reaction to the activities implemented by our participants affected decisions made throughout the process. Competition in the classroom was the mechanic that promoted a change in students' behavior. Most of the difficulties are well known through similar findings in other studies, such as technical issues and time. The enablers related to previous experience and creativity stand out due to the examples of the activities created by P3. All participants were engaged in applying gamification to motivate their students to learn a different way. They embraced innovation, challenging their creativity, using new tools, and a new approach to engage their students. They also took some risks in applying gamification to the classes. They faced unexpected difficulties with the students in using technologies. P1 and P5 also had some problems with students who were not doing the activities. These participants found a new solution to engage students in the activities mentioned. In the future, it will be important to study further the impact of variables such as time available, game experience, creativity, and previous use of technology during the planning of gamified activities. Most gamification studies focus on specific software and mechanics applied to learning management systems. However, it's possible for teachers to create their own gamified activities when provided with the necessary knowledge. Teachers have an important role in gamification. That is essential to study further. Extrinsic motivation is usually used in gamification, but future studies need to focus on intrinsic motivation, such as narrative, creativity, curiosity, and social and immersion-oriented approaches. Conclusions. According to the study, the enablers associated with the planning and implementation of gamification are related to the teacher's previous experience with games and digital tools, as well as their capacity for creating or risk-taking. The difficulties are related to the time needed for creating the gamified activities, the technical conditions of the classroom, particularly internet access, and sometimes students' difficulties in using technology. Technical issues and time are also identified in several studies. Some digital tools help to implement gamified activities that capture the interest of students through extrinsic motivation. To implement more complex and enduring gamified activities in class, intrinsic motivation has to be included. As the right brain core drives mentioned in the catalysis framework, these are the more demanding core drives to implement because they require creativity, more social interaction, and mystery. These requirements are difficult to find in some digital tools available. For teachers to apply gamification, knowledge is required, as well as game experience, creativity, and resilience. Several obstacles can occur, but it's possible to adjust the plan and see behavior changes in students, as occurred with P1. Gamification is a continuous process of motivational discovery. It is important to adapt the plan to new adjustments, creating a flow